The Democrat Party has done nothing but use union workers for political gain, the big money from contributions, and they've cozied up to union leadership. Joe Biden has decided to put Venezuelan oil workers ahead of American oil workers and their union. You know, just the other day, the Biden administration approved of a plan to lift the sanctions on Venezuelan oil. Funny, he likes doing that, like with the Russian pipeline, while shutting down our own. That means we, the United States, are not only going to give precedence to Venezuelan oil workers, we are also going to prop up their tyrannical communist regime. Now, oil workers in the United States are organized in large part under the United Steelworkers Union, a union that has been decimated. Its membership has been decimated by environmental regulations supported by Democrats. The so-called transition to green energy, speaking of which, is putting members of the United Mine Workers Union out of jobs. Now, here's the thing. The promise is, don't worry, we'll put you out of work, but we'll put you on some kind of government program, and maybe a decade or two from now, there'll be some green job for you. But anyway, Bernie Sanders is out there trying to blame this current railway strike situation on who? Republicans.
Look, you have a number of Republicans who claim to be supporters of the working class. Well, if you are a supporter of the working class, how are you going to vote against a proposal which provides guaranteed paid sick leave to workers who have none right now? So I am cautiously optimistic that we can get this done.
It does seem like a kind of call your bluff moment, because there has been, you hear all this talk from Republicans, we're the blue-collar party now, and,
right. Right.
Liberals in the coast, you don't understand people that, work real jobs like machinists and conductors, and so this seems like a, put your money where your mouth is moment.
That's right. Put up or shut up. If you can't vote for this, to give workers today who really have hard jobs, dangerous jobs, if you can't guarantee them paid sick leave, don't tell anybody that you stand with working families.
This was your promise. You promised these people if they vote for Democrats and pledge their loyalty, you were going to deliver that paid sick leave. I'm going to report some very grim news. Headline Associated Press. Higher food prices worsen hunger crisis this holiday season. What many Americans hope would be the first normal holiday season in 3 years has instead been thrown into crisis by inflation, with Christmas on the horizon. Quote, a September report by the Urban Institute estimated that about 1 in 5 adults experienced household food insecurity last summer, about the same as during the first year of the pandemic, but a sharp increase from the spring of 2021. Black and Hispanic adults reported higher rates of food insecurity than their white counterparts, according to the report. Quote, in the pandemic, nobody had jobs and nobody had money, said Nancy Murphy, a 45-year-old caregiver picking up a frozen turkey and groceries last week from a giveaway at the Redeemed Christian Church of God New Wine Assembly Church in Northeast Washington. Now they're back at their jobs, but the money isn't going far enough. It's still hard. The government estimates food prices will be up 9.5% to 10.5% this year. And that's squeezing the budgets of many Americans and the food banks that have helped them, especially with the expiration of the massive flow of pandemic relief aid. Inflation has been the story of the year, said Michael Alfest, Director of Community Engagement at the Alameda County Food Bank in Oakland, California. Alfest said the level of community need remains 50% to 70% higher than the pre-pandemic levels, and about 30% of calls to the food bank's emergency helpline are from first-time callers. So while food prices are skyrocketing, jobs are being destroyed by Democrats. But Joe Biden is the most pro-union president ever, right? Headline, USA Today. He's not stepping up. Union workers feel let down by pro-union Joe Biden amid rail dispute. Quote, President Joe Biden hails unions at almost every turn, often declaring unions built the middle class, and that his goal is to be the most pro-union president in U.S. history. But as he urges Congress to intervene in a labor dispute to avert a freight rail strike before the holidays, the president is facing a backlash from labor allies. Union workers hope to secure paid sick leave in a final contract, among other assurances, but congressional action pushed by Biden would force some terms they oppose. Quote, The actions speak for themselves. Don't tell me what you are, show me what you are, said Russ Gruters, a railroad engineer from Des Moines, Iowa, and co-chair of the advocacy group Railroad Workers United. He's not stepping up for the workers in the way that he should be. Well, just a little reminder, the largest investor, BNSF Rail, is Warren Buffett. He's essentially the CEO of the largest railway company in this country. So maybe someone ought to get the message to Bernie and some other Democrats that their biggest donor, Warren Buffett, is who Joe Biden and the rest of the Democrats are doing the bidding of. But here's Nancy Pelosi.
On the subject of the rail strike, or to avoid the rail strike, the president made his statement yesterday. Tomorrow morning, he asked Congress to act. Tomorrow morning, we will have a bill on the floor. He said we could come up as early as 9 o'clock in the morning with the legislation that accepts the original agreement plus the additional benefits that were gained in further discussion. I salute the president and Secretary Walsh for their leadership in improving that. That was a negotiation between labor and the railroads, presided over by the president, the administration. And so we will bring that agreement to the floor. It's not everything I would like to see. I think that we should have paid sick leave. Every developed country in the world has it. We don't. But nonetheless, we have an improved situation. And again, I don't like going against the ability of unions to strike. But weighing the equities, we must avoid a strike.
Well, then why don't you call Warren Buffett and say, hey, that $14 billion you made this year on railways alone is enough to pay for 15 days of paid sick leave. They won't, because he's their biggest donor. Headline, U.S. News and World Report. House approves bill to avoid first rail strike in decades. Quote, today we're here to safeguard the financial security of America's families, to protect the American economy as it continues to recover and avert a devastating nationwide rail shutdown, said House Speaker Nancy Pelosi of California ahead of the vote on Wednesday, where lawmakers resoundingly approved the measure. Pelosi said that the tentative agreement to fend off a strike that could cost the U.S. economy an estimated $2 billion per day has secured important advances, but noted that it does not go far enough, citing a need for paid sick leave for railroad workers. The package included a 24% pay hike over the next 4 years, the biggest wage increase in a half-century, and a more generous health care plan, but it includes no paid sick days, something the holdout unions said was unacceptable for a labor force that suffered illness and death during the pandemic. So this is not the work of Republicans. And if somebody says, Andrew, what would you do different? Well, I would make no promises. I would say I believe in free market economics, and maybe we shouldn't force people to join private sector labor corporations, because that's what a union is. Collective bargaining is one thing. Being forced to join a private sector labor corporation, turn over a portion of your paycheck to that union, who will then donate to only one political party, is part of the problem. Unions in this country have put all of their eggs in the Democrat basket. And the union leadership is nice and cozy with the elites in the Democrat Party, leaving behind the rank and file who actually do the work and pay the dues. Now, again, I might say I make you no promises of wage increases or paid sick leaves. If I make you no promises, I can't break those promises. The Democrats promised these workers that if they voted for Democrats in 2020 and 2022, they were going to deliver paid sick leave. They are not. They are voting to bust this strike because it's making them look bad. Their inflation policies are sending food prices through the roof, and people are angry. Now, there was no big red wave. That's true. They still control the White House. They still control the Senate. But they are not going to change their policies. They are trying to save their own rear ends economically because they have no plan to bring down inflation or gas prices. As I pointed out, we're going to be getting oil from Venezuela. So the relationship between Democrats and the unions is nothing but transactional. And you got screwed.